Welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. I'm Melissa Muir. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about solder. Solder is something that we use in jewelry making to attach or hold multiple pieces of metal together. That could be anything from two pieces of metal to create like a base of something, or a bezel, or tube setting, anything like that. But you do need to have a good foundation of solder. Now there are also multiple types of solder that we use. There's going to be sheet solder, wire solder, and paste solder. This video is only going to really touch on sheet solder, but the concepts presented are going to be similar for all three types. So you can pick and choose which works best for you. For me, I have chosen to work with sheet solder. It's a little easier for me to handle, and I'm just more familiar with it. So that's what I have chosen to deal with in my own studio and working with this. The next thing I want to talk about is the hardness, or the melting point of your solder. There are 4 different kinds that I use in my studio, and I have 3 of them here. I have hard, medium, and easy solder, and that just refers to their melting temperatures or their melting points when you are working with it. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate for you is how each one of those, they melt in successive order. So easy is going to melt first, medium, and then hard, meaning that it's going to take less heat for me to melt an easy solder than it would medium or hard. The reason for that is because of the solder content as far as how much silver it has in it. The hard solder has the majority or the most silver, whereas easy or even extra easy, which I don't have on my bench today, but extra easy and easy have less silver content, therefore they are going to melt a little bit at a lower temperature. So one of the things that I do is, and this is something that I've set up on my own, so there's not an industry standard or anything like that, but you'll notice that my hard solder is black, and on my medium solder I have some red, and then on my easy solder there is nothing as far as any coloring goes. The reason for this in my studio is so that if I happen to see a red or a black dot on my bench, or even just a plain silver one, chances are it's a solder. But if I see a red or a black one, then I know that it's solder, and it's going to be either medium or hard. But again, it's just something that I've kind of set up on my own. You'll notice also that I have some plastic bags here, and that is because I don't want to, first of all, don't want to cut up all of my solder all at once. Solder does not flow into dirty areas. Well, oxidation is considered dirt as far as solder is concerned. So what I do is I will just cut up a few pallions or a few pieces, work with that, and then store the rest of them in bags to kind of help prevent some of the oxidation from happening. Alright, so the next thing that I do when I do cut them up, I put them into little containers like this. Now, both of these have hard solder in them, but you'll see that their sizes are drastically different. And that's just because I have different projects that I'm working on. If I have a very small joint, say something in just wire, I'll use a smaller chip of solder, whereas if I have something that I'm trying to solder together that has a larger surface area, or just has more area that needs to be soldered, then I'll choose some of the larger chips. And again, just using this in practice is going to help you figure out what you need. So what I want to do is I want to show you really quickly how the solder melts, and I thought one of the best ways to do this is I will cut a little chip of each one of them, place them on my little scrap piece of copper here, and heat them up, and you'll see that the easy will flow, then the medium, and then the hard. So the next thing I need to do is I need to get a chip of each one of these. There's a number of different ways to cut them up, but if I only need 1 or 2 chips, I have this nice little pair of solder snipping pliers. Now it also has a little hole in here, so if you have wire solder, you can just feed it through and just kind of cut your solder that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my little solder plier or snipping pliers, put it into the jaws here, put my finger under this little hole that it has right here, and that's so that the solder can come out right there. So I'll put my finger underneath that so I can catch my piece of solder right there on my fingertip. I'm just going to place this on my board. And again, it's black, so I know that that's my hard solder. Do the same thing for my medium and my easy. So there's my 3 pieces of solder. What I'm going to do now is prepare my metal for the solder. Now again, solder does not flow into dirty areas, and it doesn't care if it's a test piece or whatnot. So what I need to do is flux my piece of metal. I have some paste flux that I'm going to use for this. So get this in here. And I'm just going to coat my piece with the flux. Now, if I wanted to, I could take my torch and kind of brush over that and dry it out a little bit, because now when I place my solder pallions on here, as the torch comes in and goes over this, it will kind of bubble up, and I have the risk of bubbling off one of my solder pieces. Because this is a scrap piece and I'm not really doing anything fine as far as soldering something in place, don't really care. So I'm going to go ahead and place my easy solder, and I'll place my medium solder, and I will place my hard solder on this board, on our little scrap piece here. Alright, and the next thing that I'm going to do is solder this on. So let me zoom you in here and get you prepared for that, and we'll get started. Okay, so my easy solder is here on the right, medium is in the middle, and my hard is here on the left. So what we're going to do is get my torch going, and I just want to come in and just kind of brush through that very, very lightly to kind of dry that flux a little bit without trying to bounce everything around. See that they're kind of moving around? Alright, so flux goes through 3 different stages. We have what I call the powdered sugar phase, and that's where it goes all white and fluffy. Then it goes into maple syrup, where it goes brown and gooey. You want to keep the whole thing at the same temperature, so always keep your torch moving. The next stage is going to be where my flux goes clear and glassy. Shortly after it goes clear and glassy, you will see the solder begin to flow. So we'll see, there goes our easy already, medium, and next our hard. So you can see that they really do go in successive order as far as their melting temperatures. So that's a quick little trick for you to know when it comes to soldering. If you'd like to know even more about soldering, I'm launching my online workshop this coming week, and I'd love to have you in there. Please visit my website, www.melissamuir.com, for more information.